Welcome back everyone to the Quake Pro League with Flea once again, and we've still got 3 incredible matches to go before the end of the day. First one now going to be nosfa versus DaHanG. Now I'd love to know your take on this matchup as a whole, because we know DaHanG hasn't been practicing a huge amount leading up to a lot of these matches. Maybe has been, maybe hasn't been. I'm not really too sure 100% in terms of his practice regimen, but he's had a few shaky matches here and there at this stage. Definitely a lot shakier than what we've seen in comparison to previous stages. We've seen a lot more weaknesses which have been exploited, or it could be the fact that the players in the Americas region have improved dramatically over the course of time. But how do you feel nosfa will do against DaHanG this time round?
I mean, last time they played in the previous stage was a very convincing victory for DaHanG overall, 3-0, taking it home. Now, of course, the maps are quite a lot closer than what the scoreline would have you believe, but still, 3-0 is quite something. But this time around, indeed, DaHanG just hasn't been performing as well as many people would have expected. Currently, I think he's number 7 on the Americas leaderboard. Now, of course, he hasn't played as many games as some of the people above him, so that will definitely still shift. But I do believe that DaHanG, you mentioned it yourself before we went live, has a negative balance when it comes to map wins versus losses, which is incredibly unusual for a man who is this fixture in top 3 NA and has been for who knows how many years, right? Whereas on the other hand, nosfa has been doing incredibly well. And if we look back at the previous stage finals, nosfa managed to get a top 4 finish. DaHanG still a very impressive top 8, but this could be the complete opposite of what we saw last time when it was nosfa who came out on top of this engagement.
Yeah, DaHanG is normally one of the gatekeepers, isn't he, for the top 2 spots in the Americas, but not this time round, as we're going to have a quick look at the picks and bans here to get a feel of what could be to come, and we're just going to see what's been banned out first straight away. So in terms of map picks, like nosfa's been very good on Ruins and Awoken, and it looks like nosfa has banned Veil, and DaHanG's actually banned Molten Falls, so that's interesting in itself. Maybe it's something he's not really comfortable with, but seeing Exile slip in, I'm not surprised. I do feel like DaHanG is excelled on Exile compared to a lot of the other maps, but nosfa's going to be very happy to start things off on Ruins. And do you know, I think we've seen a Galena on every single Ruins matchup from what we've seen so far today. And then going to the very end, we've got the Eisen versus the Death Knight. That's going to be another interesting one.
Yeah, indeed. This should be one of the best matchups we get to see today. Ruins, Galena versus Ranger. Pretty standard. Galena, top tier pick on Ruins. So many places where you can hide those totems. On the other hand, Ranger also works very nicely. The orb allows you to traverse much of the map very quickly. And then we've got Exile, where we get to see Athena for the first time today. And Athena, when she's played and handled by a good player, is always a joy. nosfa, not the kind of player who runs this champion as part of his usual arsenal of champions, but nevertheless, I'm very excited to see what he can deliver going up against Doomslayer. And then the final map of the bunch will be Corrupted Keep, another map we've seen pretty much every single matchup so far, where we're getting Eisen versus Death Knight. Strog has already been banned by nosfa, definitely didn't want to leave that up for DaHanG, and so it will be Eisen versus DK.
Yeah, the most common champion picks we normally see on Corrupted Keep is, yeah, like you mentioned before, like normally the BJ, normally the Strog. We do see Death Knight from time to time as well, so it's not surprising we've seen him again. But seeing an Eisen Corrupted Keep, I'd like to see what nosfa will be doing in order to prep for some of these items with the turret in place. But yeah, you're right. You know, I like seeing the Athena as well. We don't see a huge amount of her compared to what we've seen, like, you know, a long time ago. But seeing on Exile again, I like to see what nosfa can bring to the table in that kind of retrospect.
Yeah, indeed, this should once again be a very exciting series. Now, let's keep in mind, right, these are players who are obviously clear and free from relegation. They don't have to worry about it at all. But keep in mind, top 4 on your side of the leaderboard means that you essentially get to skip the first round because you get a good starting position, good seed, and good placement for the finals. And for neither of these players, that is already secured at this point. So the stakes are still quite high as we are loading into the first map of this series, which will of course be Ruins of Sarnath.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Rafa and Zanaku have pretty much guaranteed. Well, we know Rafa has.
Rafa has
he definitely has for sure, without a doubt. We don't need to even question or, you know, contemplate that in the slightest. But Zanaku pretty much has as well, and it's just between Maxter, Chain, nosfa, and DaHanG really. Sidegib could do, but yeah, I think he's only got one match in hand, so I don't think he'll be able to. So yeah, between Maxter, Chain, nosfa, and DaHanG, those 4 players are trying to secure those top 4 spots to get a bye in the first round of the winners bracket at the Stage 3 finals. But this is what's going to happen here. As we said it before, DaHanG's had a bit of a shaky stage this time round, and we're going to see if nosfa can, well, continue to check things up even further, as he has been looking really strong this stage, just like many other players here on out, and already waiting. Yeah, I was going to say, just biding his time in a moment, just playing this very, very slow.
Both players are. nosfa's holding the angle. He's got a good idea of where DaHanG is at. DaHanG was really just waiting around the corner and is now just pushing this aggressively. He knows that nosfa doesn't have a rockets yet, so he can just go balls to the walls aggressive, and it will pay off right away. That is one way to kick off a game on Ruins. Often you see it be a little slower than that, because one player will have the rockets, the other will have the LG and the rail. This time around, DaHanG played around that, but just trying to set a trap. And even though nosfa didn't spring it, he just went in super aggressive after landing a nice long-distance rocket to open up the map, and then just closed the distance and got the frag.
Very slow approach from nosfa, but took a direct in the process. It looks like DaHanG looking to clean up, which he does. Takes down the totem as well, still has the orb in play. He's going to use that to pick up the mega as well as the heavy. Good stuff from him. Huge stack, so he's got everything he needs now. It's just a matter of trying to pin down his opponent. Hits the first rail, waiting to see where he's going to go next, but good return rail from nosfa. If he missed that, it probably would have been curtains for him. So already 90 seconds of play. DaHanG already up 2-0. nosfa just trying to continue to add a bit more aggression, but with the sneaky tactics here from DaHanG, it's kind of getting caught off guard on a few occasions.
nosfa will be the first one to drop down for the heavy. So DaHanG, even though he's 2 frags up, has been unable to get full control of the map. It's a good play by nosfa to deny that. And DaHanG knows that he cannot just bully his opponent around right now. nosfa has a pretty decent stack. He's got 2 totems up on the map as well. And he's got good position for the heavy. Looks like he can actually make it 3 just before the heavy spawns. That's a really good play by nosfa. Just making sure that DaHanG just doesn't orb in out of nowhere, steals away the heavy and just bulldozes him. Puts down his totem just before it spawns, gives himself a free mega to work with. Now both players again running into each other. nosfa is the first one to pull the trigger. Rocket to the face, DaHanG retreats. nosfa is not in a bad situation to make something out of this, but instead he will prioritize the item over the chase. Rails will be exchanged, but that is heavily favoring nosfa. And now the Brazilian has an advantage, should be able to get the kill here. DaHanG has got nowhere to run. And indeed, nosfa will clean this one up.
Yeah, DaHanG actually did a huge amount of damage there, considering the position he was in. But of course, it wasn't going to get the frag. He just wanted to do as much as he possibly could, so he could maybe trade afterwards, but wasn't going to get the spawn. But it has backed away again. nosfa has 2 totems up. We'll have a third momentarily. Just waiting to see where DaHanG is going to go next. He's made the right prediction though, as DaHanG does find another totem. Having to make sure just to clean things up, keep him in check to make sure that it doesn't get out of hand. Still only 4 minutes has passed. DaHanG still without 1 frag lead. I always feel like with nosfa as well, it will get me very back and forth, but it looks like DaHanG will be able to extend that lead 3-1. And now he's going to try and trap nosfa again if he can. nosfa knows what he's going to be up to, but still able to corner him. Good stuff here from DaHanG, just inflicting so much damage onto nosfa. Does manage to be able to kill him up. Will he be? Yeah, he does. Okay, that was a little bit of caution there, but looks like he does manage to finish him up. Beautiful stuff from DaHanG again. But yeah, go back to what I was saying. I kind of feel like nosfa, there's some opponents that nosfa can take down which DaHanG can't, and vice versa. Like, for example, DaHanG would, you know, struggle against Xanaku and Maxter, but nosfa seems to have like Maxter's number, etc., etc. It's a lot of that on the just due to the different players' styles. It's nosfa now just trying to stand his ground in that choke point, trying to contest this mega. As you can see, DaHanG's just on the staircase trying to do as much as he can. And he just manages to pick up that Mega. He definitely would have been taken down if he did not pick that up. As DaHanG just trying to stay on his toes to try and keep track on nosfa's whereabouts, but he's just going to try and recover for now. As DaHanG at the halfway stage is up 5-2.
At least nosfa has somewhat managed to stabilize and has secured a stack advantage now. DaHanG has been unable to really run away with the scoreline. That's a good rocket. Make it 2! The American is going to be happy about that exchange. I don't think nosfa landed a single nail. And instead he basically took 2 directs to the face, and that is giving DaHanG the heavy for free. nosfa realizes that he can't challenge for this item, has to make himself scarce. And now he's got 4 minutes to work with. Not impossible. There we go, that's a good rail. Now he's only 2 frags behind. Can he make it to the Mega on time? Good thing that DaHanG used the orb in that situation. If DaHanG had done that kind of damage with the orb still active, he would have just orbed straight up there and cut nosfa off. I can guarantee you that. But now nosfa did take away the Mega, although I don't think it is wise for him to be there at this time. Luckily for him, he's got those totems, the warm comfort of his personal Mega health. It's going to help him out and keep him in fighting shape.
Yeah, recovering with that 150 HP. He's going to be very happy about that with his totem usage. But all the totems have been taken down. So, you know, he got good use of it out of it anyway. So he's going to be pretty chuffed with what's been going on. He's got to catch up from a 2 frag deficit. Definitely possible with 3 minutes left. Just a matter of keeping tabs on where DaHanG is going to go. Good drive-by rail there from nosfa. Just expecting anything and everything just in case. It looks like position. DaHanG has taken a fair amount of damage there. It's just going to back away. Oh, good rail from DaHanG. Again, just making sure. And another great rail. Again, DaHanG able to increase this lead. And yeah, we were a little bit worried for him at first, but these rails from DaHanG have been nothing short of brilliance.
69% rail from DaHanG. Isn't that nice? nosfa just can't stand up to it, and you can kind of see a little bit of desperation in some of these moves, right? Just blindly pushing over the wall with nail gun from that distance. That's risky. And then he just kind of, he's lost after that. He ends up on the railgun and doesn't have any weapons to defend himself with. Just kind of lost on the map, and DaHanG meanwhile is playing this like a guided missile, who is now going to just vacate the areas. He knows that he can just fall back on Mega. He knows that he doesn't have to fight, and that as long as he plays a defensive game for these final 2 minutes, he should be alright.
He's been doing a good job so far. Putting a lot of pressure onto nosfa. Currently up 8-3. Huge stack. Minute 40 left. Things are looking very bleak for nosfa. Not really much he can do. As you can see so far, DaHanG just keeping the high ground. Just making sure to keep nosfa guessing. Good rails from nosfa though. Must hit 2 for 2. In that last fight, does drop down to go and prioritise the heavy. Waiting to see if DaHanG's going to creep on up from above, which he will do. Misses a couple of rockets. The rails of nosfa have been good, but it's just a shame that just too little too late. Good rocket there from DaHanG. He's going to be backing away to go for the light and just try and hold his ground in the courtyard. And I love this all play. Oh, that was beautiful from DaHanG. Misses that last rail. He's still got a second chance. Does hit it, but nosfa's going to be the one who comes out on top. Has to find 4 frags in 50 seconds, and he's got to try and recover. It's going to be extremely, extremely tough.
Yeah, I really don't see it as a possibility anymore. DaHanG is just going to play the plus back game, and nosfa playing Galena just doesn't has the mobility to catch up with him anymore. It's a common problem. Talked about it earlier as well. We saw Galena versus Slash, I believe it was Dramis versus Maxter. At some point when you have to try and chase down your opponent and they are They have the orb, they have something to work with in terms of mobility, and you don't have a thing. It's basically a done deal. So DaHanG, looking pretty snazzy. Glad to see the fire is still alive and burning. We'll take away map 1 versus nosfa.
Yeah, he's going to be pretty chuffed about that. I think I saw the rail percentage as well from DaHanG, 61%. That was just great stuff from DaHanG. 23 items compared to the 13 of nosfa. It's like I said, it's like a rock, paper, scissors kind of thing with a lot of these players in the Americas region. Like, you know, DaHanG has struggled against Zanaku and Maxter, but seems to be able to take on nosfa quite well. More suits to his needs in terms of style. But then, you know, nosfa can, you know, pretty much has Maxter's number every time they match against each other. So a bit strange, really. But at the same time, you know, this could be DaHanG stepping his game up, knowing that stage 3 finals are just around the corner. So what better time to prepare now than, you know, at this moment in time. And I must say that nosfa did use the Galena well. He got a lot of use out of those totems, a lot of value on a number of occasions, but it just wasn't going to be enough. And you can see the stats saying, like I just said, 62% with the rail, 41% with the LG. Yeah, it's going to be very pleased about that. 1,213 more damage. It's just going to make DaHanG a happy man going into the second map.
Indeed, it will. Now map 2. It's going to be something else entirely. This is Exile. nosfa will be playing Athena. First time today we're getting to see that champion in action, and DaHanG is going to try and counter with the Doomslayer. Now, one of the key things of Athena is that she is very capable of denying hourglasses and making sure that your opponent doesn't have his ability. However, this time around, that won't matter. DaHanG doesn't use his ability to begin with when you're playing as Doomslayer, except not in any way that is common or frequent. So that advantage that nosfa has is kind of invalidated to begin with, simply because of the champion matchup. However, he is still vastly faster than DaHanG Spake and can easily maneuver through the verticality that Exile offers. But on the other hand, DaHanG has a bit of an advantage mid-fight by being able to avoid a lot of rocket damage with that double jump. So this should be a very interesting matchup, and I'm extremely curious to see just how well nosfa has mastered Athena.
Yeah, it's not something you normally see every day. Yeah, you're right, you know, don't really see Athena often on this map either, so it'll be interesting to see what nosfa's going to do, what his plan of action is going to be going in this matchup. And yeah, an early lead will be, you know, it's something nosfa needs to start things off here. But it's just, again, yeah, like I said with the rock, paper, scissors thing, it's a shame that, or just a bit strange that how nosfa struggles against DaHanG, but against everyone else DaHanG's lost to, nosfa's been, you know, okay. It's been pretty much all right considering the circumstances. But this time round, it will be on, I think it's going to be on the SA server here. So DaHanG may struggle a little bit in terms of ping. So in terms of close range combat, it's going to have to be a bit more cautious in some of these bouts. But we'll find out as we're going to go into the second map of this series. This is the 4th series of the day, if you're just joining us. And we're going to start off with nosfa's POV. We'll be picking up the light straight away, as well as the LG, and heading straight towards that heavy.
Slow, reserved start, neither player immediately going for the challenge, but that will change here, and it is DaHanG with the superior stack who gets a bit of an edge. Ooh, such a good thing that DaHanG was playing Doomslayer right there. I was watching on DaHanG's point of view. If he didn't have the double jump to get himself back up on that last pillar, that would have already been a ring out, I'm pretty sure. So, good pick with the Doom. But just look at that speed. You can just see nosfa flying on by, stealing away the heavy.
I was going to say that's one way of picking up the heavy. Good rail from DaHanG, taking that high ground and just doing a fair amount of damage to keep nosfa there at bay. DaHanG just backing away just to pick up that light. Heavy will be up in the next 7 seconds. Just a question of what DaHanG wants to go for first. He's going to make an attempt for the heavy, it looks like, as nosfa's decided to go towards the mega, as DaHanG could still go for this here, or at least try and contest it, and it looks like it's been left behind, which is not something we normally see. Is DaHanG's gonna not pick up the mega yet, but instead just prioritize the kill, and do you know what, why not? Because if whatever damage he takes, he can just pick up the mega straight afterwards anyway. Still left it behind. Items now a lot more segregated in comparison to the start of this matchup, as already nosfa just trying to get away the best of his ability. Hasn't got any armor. DaHanG just sitting there like a hawk, waiting for him to go for that next light, and manages to take him down. And look at the stack as well, as nosfa a lot more A lot more caution needs to be added here, and it's not going to happen. There should be a third frag for DaHanG. It looks like nosfa does get away. For how long for, though? Could be another story, as he does pick up the Mega and still cleans him up there. 3-0 in favour of DaHanG.
nosfa has a bit of an opportunity there, but takes such a bad rocket. All he can do is just push with the machine gun in those situations. Hope for the best. Now he does get heavy to work with, but just look at that stack, Lethal. Even after picking up heavy, nosfa's armor is already just decreased to, well, 75 points. That's all that he's got to work with now. Now DaHanG has to be even more careful, because even though he's got more of the weapons, he is outstacked. I like how nosfa's playing this though. Like, he didn't need to push that situation, and he didn't. He just fell right back onto heavy, knowing exactly where his opponent is.
Oh my no! As if he got away with that.
No!
How weak was DaHanG? He was super weak. Literally, you could tickle him and he would be taken down. And he still manages to clean him up with the berserk. And he was on his head, wasn't he, pretty much? And yeah, he could have been in a better position. He really could not have done. That was probably one of the clutchest frags we're going to see today, but we've still got a couple more matches. nosfa does bring it back though, does get that first frag on the board. It took a fair amount of time, but finally got there in the end. He's going to be looking for the second, and he does have to stack to work with. Still got a fair amount of stack actually to try and force out a third fight if he wants to. But yeah, what a way to catch that full frag.
20 HP, DaHanG is just standing on nosfa's head, walking backwards with him, punching him in the back of the skull until he just brutalizes his way out of that situation. Now nosfa does get a frag. It's still only a 1-point game, so this could easily still go in the Brazilians' favor, especially with rails like that, all tied up once more. And now nosfa is keeping control of that center top area of the map. In position to run away with Mega. Oh, messing up the drop down. The LG is good, but it's not good enough. Wow, that's painful. nosfa, he wanted to drop down and take away that small armor before running for heavy, but instead, the float, the LG, it just wasn't powerful enough, and DaHanG still beat him out in the LG match.
Yeah, real shame indeed. 3 ticks of damage would have done it for nosfa. DaHanG regains the lead. As nosfa just been very patient, but the rails from DaHanG is keeping him in this matchup and kept him in the last one as well. As DaHanG now just standing his ground, just holding that height advantage, ready for the heavy. The items are segregated, remember, so he can contest both if he needs to. Good LG there from DaHanG. He's just trying to see exactly where he's going to go. Looks like nosfa has backed off to try and pick up that light. Still, those stacks are a little bit similar. nosfa is a little bit behind here, but he's going to have to give up on this Mega. DaHanG will get this quite comfortably. Just wait and see when he's going to go through the telly or not. Just keeping DaHanG guessing, which is good, don't get me wrong. But how's he going to try and contest this heavy? Great rail there. Oh, that direct as well. It's not going to help nosfa at all. It's DaHanG now increased it to 6. And it's going to be looking to try and contest this next Mega.
It's been a very active game so far. Not a lot of downtime, constant pressure. nosfa's making good use of the Athena. Seen it several times just earlier near Mega when he took a bad rail, dropped down to a very low stack, but still, before DaHanG could even recharge and fire another shot, nosfa had just grappled onto the Mega. Don't know about that one though. I guess that nosfa just wanted to make a move on heavy, but he should have backed up and maybe gone up through that hole in the floor rather than just try and beat out DaHanG out in the open. And now the situation is becoming a little bit more desperate for the Brazilian player. Athena is allowing him to avoid some of these bad fights, but it hasn't put him in many positions to win fights, and that's what he needs right now.
DaHanG's now looking very solid, just all over nosfa like a rash. 3.5 minutes left. We've seen nosfa do it earlier on, crawling that, well, bringing back that comeback earlier on, but the problem is he's going to have to get some very clean frags in the meantime. but he's going to be okay. DaHanG's just able to stay alive, pick up the Mega. But I must say, the rails from DaHanG have been just ridiculous, and it's just continuing to pile on that pressure, just keeping and guessing, using the mobility of the Doomslayer, just best of his ability, just making sure nosfa is always on the low ground. And so far, DaHanG is doing a great job. Just if he continues up the next couple of minutes, he's going to be absolutely fine. And the work DaHanG's put it in terms of damage infliction has been brilliant. And just speaking of damage so far, nearly 600 more damage. The item control has been very, very similar, pretty much the same. And now DaHanG with 42% rail with the 52% of nosfa.
I think we're getting close to the point of the map where we might be writing this one off lethal.
Yeah.
I mean, nosfa needs a superhuman effort to bring this one back from the brink of defeat. But we know that DaHanG is so good at that defensive play. Like, look at this again. DaHanG could have stuck around on top, picked more of a fight for Mega, but he was just like, no, I know that I am now in a position where I can take a rail and not land one in return, so I'm not gonna go for this anymore. He just backs up, picks himself up the heavy, and then charges to meet nosfa halfway in a position where he knows that he is guaranteed to do LG damage of his own, relying on that better stack of his. And that's just the key to success. He is playing such a clever defensive game that I really don't see anything that nosfa could still do. We've got 1 minute left, 8 frags. I think it is clear that DaHanG will be the one to take away the win on map 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Good rail from nosfa, but just too little too late. 7 frags behind, just a minute left. Yeah, I must say, DaHanG looking much, much better. It's been a little aim star here, playing compared to what we've seen in previous weeks, which is what we love to see. But nosfa, though, it's just a bit of a shame for him. Like, he didn't contest the items as well as he should have done. Like, there was a couple of times where he either mistimed or just didn't have to stack to contest it by any means. But we'll have to see in this third matchup as nosfa's just trying to cheekily get a bit of damage as he was grappling upwards, just picking up the health bubble. He's going to try and pick up the light if he can. But DaHanG knows exactly where he is. One more rail should do it. Will he be able to finish him up? No, he doesn't, but nosfa will be the one who retaliates with some great rails of his own. But in all fairness, both players have been equal in terms of the rail accuracy or the clutch rails that have been bringing up. As nosfa's going to try and do what he can. Good comeback, but again, like we said, just too little too late. Brought it down to a 3 frag deficit as DaHanG's just trying to back away and just trying to stay alive. Does get the gauntlet out, but left on 39 HP. But good comeback from nosfa. Just, again, like we mentioned before, not enough time for him to bring that back. But that's going to be 2-0 now in favour of DaHanG.
The damage is pretty much tied dead in the middle. nosfa has 50 more damage than his opponent, but it was just DaHanG who ultimately controlled the map. The mobility, I feel like, sometimes was more of a curse than a blessing for nosfa. Like right there, right? He tries to get himself out of the grapple, but just puts himself clean in DaHanG's crosshair and ends up losing precious frags as a result of it. Whereas DaHanG was very patient with that Doom double jump, saving himself at least once over near the void. Some good shots coming out from both players. But ultimately, yeah, DaHanG proving why he has been number 2 in the Americas for so long now. I'm really hoping that this is a bit of a revival of DaHanG going into the stage finals, because we know that that's a period where he kicks it up a notch, as do most players, of course. So hopefully we can really see him in good shape again. He made it top 8 in the previous stage finals, which is quite the accomplishment. So I see no reason why he couldn't do the same now, if not better.
Yeah, 54% rail for nosfa. Love to see it as well. 1337 LG damage for DaHanG. Absolutely loving it. But yeah, you know, like you said, we have to compliment both players for their rails. They have been very, very good. And a lot of clutch ones to, you know, change the way how the game was in terms of dictating the pace. And nosfa did everything he could. There was only probably a few occasions, or maybe a lot more than a few occasions, where he could have contested the items a bit better, but he just couldn't, with the starting stack of the Athena, and just couldn't pick up the lights because of the fact that DaHanG was just making sure that he would pressurize him enough to keep away from those areas. It was very tough, and he's putting in a bad position all the time, but it looks like DaHanG's going to try and secure this 3-0, and the way he's been playing, it's definitely a lot better than we've seen in previous weeks. He's clearly been a lot more prepared in comparison to previous matchups.
Now, the final map, because I know there's a few people asking in chat to make their prediction. nosfa will be playing Ison versus DaHanG as Death Knight, and the map is Corrupted Keep. So it all comes down to CK. This is the final map. Of course, DaHanG has already secured the series, but nosfa, as we discussed earlier, right? He wants to stay in top 4. He wants to hang on and get every single point that he can possibly get. So this is still worth a try for him.
In terms of champion picks as well, not something we normally see every day. We mentioned it earlier, but normally see the BJ or the Strog. Sometimes the Galena on Corrupted Keep. But this time we've got the Death Knight and the Eyes, and not something we normally see every day. I just want to know your outtake on how you think this matchup's going to go here, Flea.
I mean, this is probably going to be explosive with the Death Knight, right? We've seen what DaHanG can do with his abilities. Doesn't get Strog this time around. I'm guessing that's probably his favorite pick on this map, but that was champion was banned clean off the start by nosfa. So I'm expecting quite a lot of pressure to come out from DaHanG, and nosfa will probably be a little bit more reactive. He's going to try and deploy that turret. Probably not so much to get information, since this is a pretty small map to begin with, but just to create a distraction, an extra point of damage for DaHanG to reckon with. However, I still think nosfa probably wants to hang back a little bit more, steer clear of that flame strike, whereas DaHanG wants to bridge the gap, and that's exactly what happened. You didn't quite get to see it because we started off on nosfa's point of view, but DaHanG was within seconds in the room with nosfa with the shotgun out and the flame strike at the ready, so he wants to apply pressure.
And like Riley said, Flea, every map's going to count to secure that top 4 spot to get a bye in the winners bracket at the Stage 3 finals. Help with their placement as well. nosfa's taking a huge amount. DaHanG will come out on top. Picked up the Mega Heavy, still up though. So he could go for that depending on, 1, if DaHanG takes him down, and 2, the spawn of which nosfa's going to take afterwards. That rocket and a heavy machine gun to complement it further. Beautiful stuff here from DaHanG. The Heavy's been up for what, at least 15-20 seconds, and they're both prioritizing the kill more than anything else. DaHanG already up 3-0, and it's only been 1 minute, Flea.
Just as predicted, right? Hyper aggressive. And nosfa unable to really put a stop to it. That's a good rocket. Saved his life with that one. Oh, I like the turret here as well. Forcing DaHanG out of the room. But then unable to cut him off. Ugh, I was expecting nosfa to just jump through the window and try to cut DaHanG off. Secure the Heavy himself, and instead he just chased. And so now the stacks are still pretty much tied. That was an opportunity from nosfa, but he will be able to take away the Mega now. Not without some injury, but still looking decently stacked. What he needs though is armor. DaHanG knows this. He wants to deny it.
Really does. Good item control from DaHanG, just making sure that Heavy's heavily contested by him. 2 minutes have passed. Things have stabilised a little bit here. As DaHanG's having to back away from that turret. Still got the heavy machine gun to use though. He's been keeping the range game so well. Good direct, good LG. Everything which went to plan did for DaHanG, and still though, look at his stack. He can go for another frag if he wants to. Just waiting to see how nosfa's going to approach him though. The Heavy is going to be up any second now. nosfa does pick that up, but the Mega's not going to be coming up for a fair few seconds yet. So DaHanG just looking to recover to the best of his ability, staying in range for the Mega in case he can go for it, but it looks like he overstayed his welcome and does get taken down. So nosfa gets his first frag, just put the turret down for good measure. Oh, what a these rockets! These rockets from DaHanG. It's just a great prediction there. Already been ridiculous. 3 minutes. Yeah, I think ridiculous is probably the right word for it so far.
I mean, people sometimes overlook that back in the days of 2v2, DaHanG was very often the bigger fragger, the one who did most of the damage. It was Rafa who tried or tended to call the shots most of the time, but it was DaHanG who dealt most of the pain. This is a very gifted Quake player with a tremendous capability for combat. And nosfa right now is just unable to keep up. Gets the heavy. This could be the start of something. Still around 10 seconds before Mega spawns. But I don't think nosfa's even gonna go for it. He's just looking to deal some exit damage. Not bad, not bad. At least he burned every piece of armor that DaHanG had to work with. I also really like how nosfa's approaching some of these turrets. He puts down the turret just before he picks up armor, because he knows that that armor, the passive ability that Ison has, reduces and decreases the respawn timer for his ability. So it's those clever little micromanagements that these players pull off that's so impressive. Oh!
Okay, alright, see you later.
Yeah, DaHanG is... I don't think that was an entirely intentional reset right there, you know? Tactical suicides are a very real thing in Quake Champions, but I think that was more of an unforced error.
Yeah, we've seen a few resets today anyway. It's already nosfa now continuing to pile on the pressure. Only down by 1 frag, but they can definitely change that, depending on how well he can contest this Mega. But DaHanG's just backing away at the moment. We'll get a little bit of damage onto nosfa as he was picking up the Mega, and DaHanG just waiting for him to come on up, and it looks like it still has to get out there and has to take the burn, I'm afraid, but at least the light armor will stop the burning as much. Does pick up those 2 health bubbles, so it's going to be pleased about that. It's going to be coming out strong. Oh, the LG from nosfa. Bringing him back in this matchup. Has the turret again if he needs to use it. May well do soon, as Mega is going to be up any second now, but hasn't really got the armor or the stack entirely to continue to contest that to the best of his ability. But look at this, the amount of damage he's doing to be a real nuisance to DaHanG. That was beautiful stuff from nosfa. Really methodical approach to stopping DaHanG putting any more pressure onto that heavy, and the heavy machine gun again just doing great work and managed to outplay him there, or out aim you could say, as DaHanG does spawn in the red room. Is going to be pushing straight on through, has the flamethrower and the super nail gun. Don't blame him for going for that trade. Does get the Mega as well, stops him from going for the rockets, and what a great way for DaHanG to come back in this matchup.
Indeed, very aggressive, and that's how you want to play Death Knight. Off spawn, rush your opponent down with an LG or Shoddy. And nosfa was just sitting on Mega a moment too early. Unfortunately for him, the Flame Strike took care of him. Oh, and once again he's caught on fire, and DaHanG, another suicide! Bringing it back down to 6-6, all tied up. No, DaHanG. That's a wrong turn. He ends up in the bad part of town, and nosfa will punish him relentlessly for that transgression, looping it effortlessly into a heavy pickup as well. This has been a tremendous back and forth. Good LG too, look at that. Brazilian Thunder bringing it to the floor. He's got to be careful of the super shoddy, and yet manages to extend his lead.
Oh, the chat did predict rather, that DaHanG would take this 62%, but nosfa looks like he's in very, very good form. Definitely kept it close in almost every engagement. Good rocket speed. Going to switch to the LG just for extra insurance, so it's going to risk anything else. He's going to doesn't have time to contest the rockets, but he can at least keep DaHanG at bay with that turret in order to get a nice Mega uncontested. But again, nosfa just keeping his range. Hasn't got a heavy machine gun, so knows that he will get out damaged, and he's going to see if he can try and stop DaHanG from going for that heavy. But DaHanG's doing a good job just making sure that nosfa does not even get a sniff of that heavy. Oh, the LG from nosfa. Oh, that was so good. Already 2 minutes left, and DaHanG needs to try and find these 6 frags quickly.
He basically has to get his first kill right now, and he won't be able to. The turret cleans him up nicely. Corrupted Keep is a map where you can chain together a lot of frags in a very quick manner, Lethal, but I think that even for a player like DaHanG, this is going to be too much of an ask. nosfa still just holding his own, and even if he drops a frag now, the turret, that is an MVP turret. How often do you see one turret without it disappearing, getting destroyed or being replaced, get 2 frags in a row? That is a rare sight in the Quake Pro League, and I think with that one, nosfa secures himself at least 1 map in this series.
nosfa's tracking, even when he's getting rocketed at close range, so good. DaHanG on 49 HP, finally claws a frag back, but he's going to have to get 7 in 1 minute, which we know is not going to happen, but DaHanG's going to try and keep the score as respectable as possible. But like we said, he's already won the series, and nosfa wanted to win at least a map to stay in closing distance of that top 4 in the Americas region. So far, DaHanG just backing away, picking up the heavy. He's going to go for the flank around towards Rockets to see if he can catch nosfa. nosfa just standing his ground, waiting for him to approach that way. 35 seconds left. Realises that he has not spawned in the red room. In fact, he's actually spawned on the heavy machine gun, I believe, looking to try and stop him from going for the mega, but it's going to be too late as nosfa finally gets a trade, you could say. Does manage to stay alive, put that turret down just for good measure, really, and to give him some info. But I must say, this is a much better performance from nosfa.
Indeed, looking so much better on this last map. Let us take a look at some of the statistics. nosfa, 500 more damage than DaHanG. Item control also favoring the Brazilian in general. The LG, 46%. Yeah, nosfa was looking good. DaHanG came out swinging really strong at the beginning of the map. A lot of pressure applied, especially with that flame strike. But then nosfa managed to stabilize the game and play the matches more on his terms. He kept back more and more, dropping down the turret, dividing DaHanG's distraction and getting a good extra source of damage on the board. And then once he kind of got into the swing of things and started getting the upper hand with the item pickup as well, that's really when it started to shift. And DaHanG, as we enter the final stages of the game, you know, you're forced to push more and more, and if that doesn't work out, you just end up bleeding and the scoreline gets away from you.
We need to check nosfa's LG damage. I'm sure he did a huge amount. It's the only gun I pretty much saw him have in the majority of that matchup, but we'll double check. But yeah, you know, DaHanG did do really well. Like, contested items how he should do, but you saw there in terms of damage, just over 700 less damage in comparison to nosfa's. And looking at the LG, yeah, okay, there we go. LG damage just over 2,600. It did feel like that is one of the go-to weapons for him. He always kept his range, and even with the heavy machine gun, though, looking at 1,008 damage with the heavy machine gun there. He had good range game, making sure that be a real pain in the backside to hang wherever possible, and also contesting those items quite well as well. He had 21 items to the 17 of DaHanG, but DaHanG's still going to be pleased anyway to come out with a 2-1 victory, considering his, like, you know, his schedule, how he tries to practice. We definitely saw a much better performance from DaHanG in comparison to previous weeks.
Definitely does appear as if he's ramping it up now that we're getting closer and closer to QuakeCon and the Stage 3 finals, which only makes sense, of course. We know that DaHanG tends to have a pretty solid track record at the finals, right? He was top 8 in the Stage 2 finals. We've seen him put up some really good results. Don't think he's made it to the grand finals, not even top 4 maybe, but generally speaking, he really is consistently up there among those that make it far into the tournament. So I hope that the middling results we've kind of seen for much of this stage, that this puts an end to that, and we're gonna see the best version of DaHanG moving forward, because you know what this man is capable of.
Yeah, it's a scary thought when you think about it in that kind of respect. And we've still got 2 more matches here to go, Flea. We've still got Benga versus Razy. The Maestro men themselves are going to be creating havoc for us to see who's going to come out on top. And we've got Cypher versus Avic to end the game. So, guys, do not go anywhere. We've got 2 bonus matches to go. So we'll see you in just a few moments.